None from staff.
Any requests from board members? Okay, not hearing any. Let's move on to public to be heard. Public to be heard is, actually, I wanted to explain. I've been identified as a contact or direct contact, somebody who later tested for COVID. So I'm following the protocol and wearing the mask. I will do my best to enunciate and try to speak clearly. So anyway, moving on to public to be heard. Public to be heard is a time when attendees of the meeting can speak to the board on items that are not on the agenda. If you'd like to speak during public to be heard, you can either raise your hand using the raise your hand feature in Zoom, which you can find by floating your cursor around the bottom of the screen and clicking on reactions, and there'll be a raise your hand icon in there, or you can raise your hand in the room. If you'd like to speak during public to be heard, please be brief, please be civil. Please address your remarks to me as chair of the select board, and thanks for being here. So, and we have one hand in the room. Come on up, introduce yourself.
Good evening. I'm Alan Nye, your rep on the Chittenden Solid Waste District Board, and we have a couple of capital projects that are underway, and I just thought it would be good to come in and update you as to where we are and where I think we're going and what my thoughts are, and if they're contrary to yours, I need to get that information from you so I can represent you as the governing body of the town. So the first one is the new materials recycling facility, or MRF as we call it. We are moving forward with the vote for the bond in the November election. There's an interesting twist in that we cannot get our question on the ballot that the Secretary of State's office is putting out. For some reason, other municipal bodies can't work that issue. So we will be working on a couple of others. One is, of course, to have the ballots available at all of the community's voting places for that day, and also for early voting here in the office. So we'll be working that. The staff is looking at trying to find a number of ways to get money other than the bond, so that the bond is not as big as initially was being thought to need to be. And we're hopefully, going to get a positive vote, as this does not add anything to the taxpayers' bill or the town's bill. It will be paid through the dollars that people pay to drop off recycling, or it will be paid with the money that we get for the sale of materials. So it's been, I think it's been like 18 years since the Waste District has asked for money from the communities. First couple 3 years, that was the way it went. Then that the number right now is like 20 something million, 22, 23. The vast majority of that is equipment that will be installed. The second item is an administrative office building. Our staff prior to COVID was in a modified raised ranch. Ventilation's very poor. One person would get a cold and 6 or 7 people would get a cold in the building. Just, there was just no way to put in a adequate ventilation system in that building to meet the needs of the numbers of people that were working there. So we were looking at trying to build a administrative office close to the compost project close to where the new MRF will be and the drop-off center for Williston. But the estimates came in pretty high, and the board has stepped back a little bit and taken a look and having staff take a look at some other options, renting, leasing, purchasing an existing building, some other options there. Nothing has been decided. We had quite a meeting a couple weeks ago on it for information and direction to staff. But that isn't out there right now, not moving forward with it. So, but I'm assuming that you guys are in support of the MRF and the new MRF and the project that will be built with that bond and stuff. And so I'll continue to, work in a positive vein down those roads unless I hear differently from you.
All right. Thanks, Alan.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
You
Go
are
ahead.
aware that the ballots are being mailed for the November election.
Yes.
So you may not get a very big turnout actually coming to the polls. So
Yeah, we may be able to, if the town gets a request to mail the ballot, it may be able to be put into your package. I just cannot believe that the Secretary of State's office, can't, whoever wrote the legislation on mailing ballots didn't include other municipal bodies. Something that we need to get the legislature to look at. But yes, I do realize that, Don.
Oh, so there's a that's weird.
everything's
Possibly.
being mailed. So
Yeah,
people aren't
yeah,
gonna come
right,
in
right.
here
The
or
general
request-
election, everything gets mailed. You're right.
So
So go ahead, Tracy.
yeah, I was gonna say, so if some people get a ballot and some don't, I mean, is that is that an actual binding vote if not everybody gets the
Yeah, because
ballot?
they're going to know that they can come in and get the ballot at the town office or go, vote in person. Our lawyer says everything is copacetic, with respect to it. If there are people that, did not get a ballot in their package and mailed their package in, we're still okay with the results of the election.
Okay, it seems very
Yes,
odd
it did.
situation. Yeah.
It,
Wow, wow. So with regard to warning the vote and all that, that'll all happen through your
Yes.
your board. The town doesn't need to warn any kind of vote. We don't need to.
No, we'll be doing that.
Right, but then the question of whether we can somehow assist with getting the ballots out, I don't know if there's anything that can be done there.
They are going to be talking to all the clerks,
Yeah.
our administrative folks.
Wow. Because are they being mailed from?
I'm thinking they're coming from the Secretary of State's
State's
office,
office.
is my understanding. I don't know why, if they had their ballot there, it couldn't be included with whatever they're mailing out.
Right.
It's not on the ballot. It would just be I don't know why.
A separate
It's all
ballot.
It's all automated.
Sure.
They've been
Wow.
been many conversations with Mr. Contos and our lawyer and our
I'm
executive
sorry to hear
director.
that.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right.
And if you have, if you hear that we're going in the wrong direction, please give me a call and tell me to, make.
Yep.
So,
Okay. All right. Thanks, Alan.
thank you very much for all you do.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else for public to be heard? Don't see any hands in the room. Anybody online? I don't see any hands, so let's move on to the first business item 5A, consider appointment of volunteers to the Economic Development Commission. We've had a number of discussions about this, and I believe, Don, you have the motion there? No, you don't? I thought we did. Okay.
I think I did, but you wait just a minute.
All right, then maybe I will go ahead and make the motion. I move that the select board appoint Ray Garofano to the Economic Development Commission with term expiring June 30, 2023. And appoint Rebecca Robinson to the seat expiring June 30, 2025.
Second.
Thank you, Don. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-0. Let's move on to business item 5B, discussion about budget goals for fiscal year 2024. You, Greg?
This is me. Staff is starting to put together budgets for fiscal year 2024. I always try to check in with the select board about this time of year to get your thoughts. If you have any particular goals that you want us to focus on as we put the budgets together. We're working on bringing the manager's budget to you by October, so we can have the budget day in early November. So yeah, just wanted to have an opportunity tonight to hear from all of you about what's on your mind and what you would like us to focus on.
All right, great. Thanks, Greg. Any board member comments? Anything you want?
Hey, Ethan, you got that smile.
I
on
gotta
your face.
start.
Go ahead.
How do I always start? I got a couple things. I know we've all had this conversation and we've all been thinking about it a while, but one of the biggest things to me is, and when I say this, I don't mean cut services, but find, holes in things like, public works and positions that aren't filled, and really assess the need for the positions and, look at things like mowing and other things, and if it's worth having our staff do it when they can be doing other things. And, my main goal is obviously to not have a large budget increase, not a tax increase, but a budget increase for the next year from the budget that we're at and what we plan on being when we reduce. So those are the few things that I have to say about it.
Thanks. All right, thanks, Ethan. Anybody else? Tracy?
I know we talked about this a little bit last year as part of budgeting, capital planning, but really making sure, I know Tom Yando has done a great job with our facilities, but really making sure that we are appropriately planning for maintenance, upgrades, things of that sort, so little problems don't become big problems as time goes on.
Thanks.
Mine was just excess spending because some of the stuff I see in the warrants is questionable. To limit the tax increase to as low as we can make it. We know we're going to have one, but make it as least painful as possible. And to really, how do I word this? Not add staff that we don't need.
Kendall, got anything you want to bring up?
Well, I've been sharing a number of ideas with the town manager directly. I do think there are some areas of the budget that you could potentially see some big savings in by bidding out some services that haven't been bid out for quite a while. My personal goal is I don't think that the town should be doing any private work on private lines. We are a public entity and we should only do public work. There are plenty of businesses and things out there to do private work, and the town should not be in that business. So that'll be what I'll be looking for in the budget. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Kendall. Gee, my list has about 12 things on it.
Well, share it with us.
I guess things that I'd like to see is some understanding or a discussion about whether to ask for an increase in our capital tax. We currently, or we have our most recent past practice has been about half of our capital comes from our operating budget and half comes from the capital tax. I think it would be more transparent if we got more of it from the capital tax. it would be essentially shifting money from one place to another, but it would, I think, be more transparent. And there's also a full disclosure, right? We've probably got we definitely have a reassessment coming up, and interesting fact that the last time the capital tax was touched was the same year that the last reassessment was done. But the reassessment will increase that capital tax, so we got to keep that in mind. I think that needs to be part of the discussion. I'd also like to see a true 5-year capital plan. Our charter requires a 5-year capital plan review every year, and I think a lot of our out years are very empty in many departments. And I think it'd be good to be able to. I think it would help us to understand what our capital needs are. We have a more filled out capital plan. There's been a lot of discussion about whether and about the fact that this building we're in is in the city. I think we need to start planning for a municipal center. There have been discussions in some of the discussions we've had about how to spend ARPA money and what our town finances. The 2 sessions that we had, there were suggestions that we make a land purchase with the anticipation of building a municipal center at some point in the down the road when we're able to. The pool also needs some. Allie keeps reminding us it's the same age as she is, and so it is. I hope Allie has many years ahead of her, but I'm not sure the pool does. Thing I've asked for a couple of years in a row is access to the river. Be nice to have a boat launch in Essex. We've talked about this before. Is the Indian Brook rate structure, is it appropriate? Should that be looked at? Let's see, another thing is we have a scenic overlay corridor. I'd like to see if there's things that we can plan for to make sure that we're focusing on that. Housing is an issue for a lot of people. I don't know what we can do. There's been talk about establishing a housing trust or a housing fund or whatever. This may not be the right year to do that, but if there's anything that can go on there. Communications and outreach, continue what we're doing or expand that. I think that's always an important thing. Senior center, we need to resolve where that's what our plan is going to be or what our path forward is going to be with that by the end of next calendar year. Given the agreement we have with the city. A lot of discussion about climate change. Are there things we can do there? I know this year what we've done is we're planning to purchase either hybrid or electric police vehicles. If there's other things that we can do. Equity is a big thing. Either continue what we're doing or expand that. Like to have, I think it's helpful to have it as a front up item in our planning. And then trails. We've had comments over the significant amount of time about connectivity, Wayfair marking, or my wife and I did the outer loop at Indian Brook on Sunday, and it was I had the map, but I wasn't always sure where I was, kind of thing. And I know that would make some people uncomfortable. We were okay with it, but it was, I don't know, those kind of things. I think if we can do it, there's been a lot of comment about those kind of things. Mm-hmm. And that's my list.
Thank you all.
I did send you a written copy of that. So
Is this where I could add 2 things?
yeah, go ahead.
I would like to add that I think our delinquencies are too high. and that we should focus on getting those down, especially when you're looking at increasing taxes. And I would also mention that I've read quite a bit that, and I'm not sure if this is accurate, that there are some sidewalks that do not get plowed and don't get taken care of. If they're public sidewalks, I think that the town should focus on making sure that all of our sidewalks are usable. Thank you.
All right. Any other board member comments before we open up to the public?
I've also thought about the Indian Brook passes. And just for comparison, I went and I looked up the rates. For daily passes, the motor vehicle rate, which allows all access to all passengers in the vehicle. So if you have a van with 8 people, it's just $5. In comparison, if you go to Sandbar State Park, it's $4 per person. There's no limit. So I don't think that it's keeping up with the actual cost. And I would like to see that at a structure that's more self-funding rather than pulling from tax dollars and being funded by tax dollars.
All right. Thanks, Tracy. Anything else? Ethan?
I haven't been up there, but I just heard things from before and after the normal season or when it first starts, whatever. But is there like a porta potty or anything up there yet? Handicap accessible porta potty? When you mentioned Sandbar, it just popped into my head that there's bathrooms at Sandbar.
There are
There are porta potties
portalets
up there.
there.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
I just wanted to double check that because I was going to throw that on the list. I haven't been there.
All right. Any other
over the last time I was there anyway.
any other board member comments? Okay, I see Patty Davis's hand up. Patty, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I just want to say kudos to Kendall and to Tracy for mentioning the sidewalks and maybe charging more for, I think money is to be had with our recreation, and the fact that a couple facts. One, the population's getting older and so many people use trails, get lost, and use all our steep areas to bike and walk. And I get lost at Saxon. So I understand how you feel, Andy, but not only do the sidewalks need to be plowed because our population's getting older, it's dangerous, but they need to be like on Allen Martin Parkway, that sidewalk or paved path hasn't been changed in 30 years. And I like what Tracy had to say about maintenance. And we are going to have to pay people more to retain them, to have people to plow, and to have people maintain our sidewalks and our buildings if we plan on growing. So yes, housing is a crisis, but we shouldn't be growing if we're not paying people to maintain what we have. And then one other thing, Andy, I really liked what you had to say about the access for canoeing, for kayaking. If you go like from my house down Sand Hill Road, take a left onto River Road, then take a right onto North Williston Road, and you just go over the bridge. There's a little tiny hut of a restaurant. It's like people are sitting outside. It looks like a little trailer type thing. I don't know what they serve, but there's this little tiny road just before that hangout where you can buy French fries right there on the left. And right at the end of that road, my neighbor across the street, Scott Turnbull, takes his canoe and goes right down that road. I don't know, there might only be 1 or 2 parking spaces, but you can go right there and slide your little banana right in the water.
Yeah, that's
Do you know where I'm talking about?
that's the Fontaine access. Yep.
Is that something that's public?
It is public. It is.
So maybe there's money that we can spruce up a little, maybe make a little wider area to park. And
It's in Williston. It's in Williston though.
oh, it is. Oh, I thought it was just over the bridge still in Essex. No,
No, that's Williston.
that's Williston. Oh, bummer.
As you cross the bridge there, it's Williston. Yeah.
Okay, I was just trying to help.
Yep. Thanks. Yeah, there is also there's 2 other accesses, and maybe it's a different discussion. Shouldn't go there. One of them is where the Woodside used to be, but the parking is about a quarter mile from the river, so it's a big lug to take 2 kayaks down there. And the other one is the one that Green Mountain Power is supposed to maintain at the end of the Global Foundry, or at the access to Global Foundries. And it's not very well, it's very difficult to navigate.
Well, something we should look into. Recreation is our biggest way to make money. $3 billion the state made in 2019 with recreation.
And a significant portion of our southern border is waterfront, and we don't use it. Yeah, we don't. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Patty. Any other public comments? See any hands in the room? Don't see any hands up and online. So, Greg, you have what you need?
I do. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Then let's move on to the next business item, which is 5C, consider adoption of updates to Town of Essex personnel guidelines.
And
Yep.
this is here. Yep.
I am.
Thanks, Travis.
Yeah, so we've got some small proposed changes to the personnel guidelines. The predominant one, the reason that we're putting this out here today is that we felt we needed to define the per diem employee classification now that we are utilizing per diem employees in the fire department. So we did develop a employee definition for per diem staff that was run by the town labor attorney, Sue Gilfillan, as well. In addition, the other significant of sorts change in here was adding a vehicle use policy that actually came up with a lot of the fire personnel work I've been doing with Charlie Cole, that we're not really properly vetting individuals who are operating municipal vehicles, and at a bare minimum, we should be, upon hire, at least confirming that they have a clean and valid driver's license. Understanding it's not necessarily practical to do driver's license checks on any sort of a regular basis, but we should at least be checking upon hire and then putting the onus on employees to notify us of changes to their license status. So that would be, police, fire, or anyone really operating. We already do it for our CDL drivers, but anyone operating even one of the town cars at 81 Main Street, just to help minimize liability there. The rest of it was primarily some general cleanup. We tried to change unified manager to town manager throughout. And there were a couple other clarifications. I think in the health and wellness section, we clarified that benefits for full-time employees. That's always been the practice and what we've budgeted for, but it wasn't necessarily spelled out there. So I believe the rest was pretty much just general cleanup. So that's all I've got. I'm happy to answer any questions as well, though.
All right. Thanks, Travis. Any questions from board members? Comments? Tracy?
In section 6C, which deals with sexual harassment and discrimination, I was curious about the language involving, let's see here. I think it first appears under examples of sexual harassment, derogatory or provoking remarks about or relating to an employee's sex or sexual orientation. I was curious whether that should be changed to gender identity, or sexual orientation.
That would probably be a good addition to the policy, yeah.
And there are a few places where that shows up.
Okay. Greg, would the best option be to make some of those changes and put this back at a future meeting, or how would be the best way to handle that?
If you're comfortable with it and the board's comfortable, I'm happy to take a motion to approve the amendments plus whatever's discussed tonight.
Okay,
With amendments, yeah.
I'm okay with that.
My questions got answered, so I'm gonna let it go.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Board members? Anything, Ethan?
No, I'm not a very good reader, so it doesn't jump out at me.
Kendall, any comments, questions?
Oh, looks good. I wish I worked for the town of Essex.
Okay. Any comments from the public? I don't see any hands in the room. I don't see any hands up online. Oh, there's a hand. Lorraine, go ahead.
Sorry, quick question. Just thinking about what Travis said about personnel and vetting. Having worked for a number of different companies, in terms of vetting, is there any cost saving for liability in terms of how we vet or train or any of that, and has that ever been explored in terms of saving on insurance?
That's a good question. I would need to run that by VLCT, the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, but I can certainly run that question by them and get back to you.
All right, thanks, Travis. Thanks, Lorraine. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Bring it back to the board. What's your pleasure?
Make the motion that we adopt the updated version of the Town of Essex personal guidelines with Tracy's recommendations.
Second.
Thank you, Don. Is that a second?
Second. Yep.
Yep. Thank you, Ethan. Any further discussion? So just a question, we are adopting, does this mean we need to approve it later, or is this the final?
This
Because
is,
this is,
this is intended to be the final one, since it's not a
Consider-
new policy.
consider, yeah, it's not a new policy. Okay. All right. Okay. Any other discussion? Any hands? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next agenda item, 5D, which is discussion and potential action on nominating a delegate for the Vermont League of Cities and Towns 2022 Legislative Policy and Annual Meeting. This meeting runs concurrently with the town fair, which this year is going to be held in Killington. I have been the delegate a number of times in the past. Happy to do it again, but also would like to offer it to if there's anybody else who is chomping at the bit to do it.
No. Yes, me.
I make the motion that we appoint Andy Watts as our delegate to the Vermont League of Cities and Towns VLCT 2022.
Second.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Ethan. Any further discussion? All those in favor,
Evan?
say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-0.
Aren't you glad you're retired?
I will contact Tammy and let her know to sign me up. And also, if anybody else wants to attend the meetings, you can just let Tammy know and
Correct. Yep.
make arrangements for you.
Yeah, I was looking at this meeting and the one they had in Burlington with the regional planning there.
Mhm.
But you have to be vaccinated and double boosted in order to attend both of them.
Oh.
Just a heads up for anybody
Okay.
that wants to
Okay.
try and attend.
Right.
So,
Great. Okay, let's moving on to the next agenda item, which is will be a executive session we come back to later. There's no discussion we need to have at this point around
Correct.
that. Then the next one is real estate lease options, similar situation there, and then discussion about contracts. So
Wow.
moving on to consent agenda.
Make the motion we accept the consent agenda.
Thank you, Don.
second.
Thank you, Ethan, for the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I didn't hear you, Kendall.
Aye.
Okay, all right. Okay, motion passes 5-0. All right, moving on to reading file. Any? Go ahead, Don.
Are we going to have a chance to discuss something in the reading file? As far as building policy, use policy?
Yes, so it's in there. It's right. It's in there to give us a heads up that it's coming. It wasn't intended to be discussed tonight.
Okay, but it is coming, so we will have input into it.
It will come to a meeting in the future, and having the fact that you have it available, the first draft. It's a rough draft
Mhm.
at this point.
Mhm.
If you have anything you'd like to comment on, you can do it outside of this meeting because we didn't want to have a discussion here, and then when it comes back around, we'll have a full open discussion with the public and so forth.
No problem.
And I know that we've gotten a number of comments about it already that will certainly play into where we go.
Thank you.
Ethan.
I have a board member comment. And it's kind of a question, but I was just wondering, when and what we are going to do about changing and finding an ordinance for the town. If that's an idea, if that's coming back, or if that's something that just got
So
pushed away
the public nuisance ordinance that we talked about before?
yeah.
Yeah, my understanding is that the police staff, the staff
They're
and
working
police
on it.
department are working
Okay.
on
Yep.
I just
the language.
wasn't sure what was.
And it will come back when they're ready. Yeah, I suppose we could ask for an outlook.
Yeah, I mean, probably wouldn't be a bad idea if we made some recommendations before we had a whole nother meeting about it.
If you have comments you want to make, you can go ahead and make those
What they
pass them to Greg,
Greg,
and he
okay.
can share them with the staff that are working on it.
Okay.
And then we can have an open we'll have a discussion about it again. And our process is we have to have at least
Public
one
hearing.
public hearing, and then so it takes a couple of meetings to actually implement.
I forgot to say thank you to the Essex Police Department and to Greg for Essex Night Out.
Oh, it was really
It was
the
fun.
police. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally the police.
Wonderful turnout. It was a good turnout. Good. It was fun.
Good event. Thank you.
So, I had followed up with Marguerite about the ARPA survey. I was assuming that the scoring was golf rules, meaning the lower the score, the higher it ranked. She did indicate that she's going to update the X and Y axis and update in the next few days. So those who, like me, may have been a little confused based on the larger bars actually being lower scores,
Right.
that an update is coming.
So I guess for clarification, does it mean that they're in the wrong? The bigger bar?
Other ranked higher than anything, and
Is
it
that-
didn't have as much. Yeah.
Is that
But if you look at the, 1 was the most important, 10
Was
was
the least,
can wait.
but it
So,
turned.
yeah.
It was up. It was back. Yeah, it was upside down.
Yeah, it has to do with like the survey output of the data. It was, yeah. So, it just, of course, ended up being the opposite of how we scored it and made it very confusing. And I'm sorry I did not catch that on that PDF. So we'll fix those and repost it so that it's way more clear for everyone and not so weird.
Thanks, Marguerite.
so Marguerite, then can you clarify that the category that was other, that as the chart appears now, looks to be the most important, is it
Right. So it's the opposite.
important, or is it?
No, exactly. And if you really want to see there is another image there on the ARPA page, excuse me, where you can at least see the top, because I ended up pulling one out, and we did it ourselves just so we could give more data. And that was just for our public info sessions. So you can see what the actual top 4 are. And you'll note other is not on there because it's not important, just as you said. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification. Thanks for asking the question. I wanted to comment on the Explore Essex thing. I think that's looks like it's an amazing thing. Very, very happy to see that getting pulled together. It'd be an awesome event. And it's on my birthday, so it'll be good.
Isn't it 3 days long?
Well, yeah, my birthday's 3 days long. No. The other thing I wanted to point out is that the upcoming meeting schedule does include a budget day on November 4th, which is that first Friday of November. Kendall, I saw you nod your head, but I haven't yet heard that you're okay with that date.
It's hard to say. That's like forever from here, but I should be good.
Okay. All right. So it's an all day.
That's a Thursday, right?
It's a
Friday.
Friday.
Either way, perfect. I was voting Thursday, Friday. I didn't even know it was too many dates.
Is it
Yeah.
in person or is it hybrid?
It'll be hybrid. We'll be here. Everyone can be here. Great. But I think it's just in general are doing the hybrid as an option these days.
I heard Andy was buying donuts and coffee, so I'm coming here.
There will be something. Yeah. maybe I will make something. That's a good idea. I got these cheese.
I'll make some homemade
these
muffins.
cheese breads that I
There
make.
we go.
In my neighborhood, I can't go to a party unless I bring them.
There you go.
Nice.
All right. Anything else I wanted to comment on here? No, that's it. Okay. Then I guess we're moving on to executives.
I got one more
Go ahead,
comment
go ahead.
that I was thinking of, but I just wanted to point out about the Essex Night Out. So super awesome event for the community, but I was really disappointed to see that there was no Essex municipality there besides the police department.
I was there, Marguerite was there, Tammy
Well,
was there, Public Works was there. We had
There was no public works there. It was
Yes,
only
there
the
was.
village. They had their trucks there.
Mm-hmm. Most public work was
And the
there.
fire department, but then it was the only one that didn't show up then.
There was plenty of fire trucks.
I don't have a full list, but
Well, I
definitely
just,
a town
you know, it's
presence
a
there.
town event. So I just didn't understand why there. In all the pictures I saw, I didn't see a lot of town involvement as far as the events. So my apologies for not seeing the municipal trucks because I didn't see any pictures online. So
A national event.
put on by the town.
All right.
I was there. I move that the select board enter into executive session to discuss the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee in accordance with 1 VSA section 313A3 to include town manager and deputy manager. I also move
Should we do the
that's oh, you want to do that one first and I'll go to the other one?
should do the
Go ahead,
one
do
at
that
a
one
time?
first.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, Don. Thank you, Tracy. Any further discussion? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-0.
I move that the select board enter into executive session to discuss the negotiating or securing of real estate purchase or lease options in accordance with 1 VSA section 313A2 and to include the town manager, deputy manager, and director of parks and recreation.
Thank you, Don. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tracy. Any further discussion? Those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-0.
And I move that the select board make the specific finding that general public knowledge of contracts would place the town at a substantial disadvantage. Motion 1. You want me to do them both?
No, thank you. Tracy, you seconded that?
Yep.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-0.
And I move that the select board enter into executive session to discuss contracts pursuant of 1 VSA 313A1A to include the town manager.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Don. Thank you, Tracy. Any further discussion? So I guess the question I always ask when we get to the final thing is, are we going to come back?
I think you will tonight.
Okay.
There's a chance of it. At least.
There's a chance that we'll come back. Okay, so we won't hold you, Scott. So we won't have the television access will not continue, but we will go into a breakout session with Kendall to have the executive session discussion, and then we'll come back to the room to adjourn and potentially make motions if appropriate. So, right. Thank you everyone for attending, and if you'd like to hang out, we'll be back.